Hello and welcome. I have decided to work on a new project today because I love me a new project. And I've been wanting to start something that was more of a wet media art journal. But I am so scared. It's not even funny. So what I've done is I decided that I have to make something short, which I'll be able to finish really quickly. And I also have to make it out of a bunch of nothing. So what I've done, I can't be precious about it. What I've done is I have collected together some random pages from books, which I've pulled out previously. I have a few paper bags for some interesting texture. I think I have one piece of watercolor paper that I ripped as I was trying to get it out previously, and it made me sad. And I've also pulled out a slightly thicker piece of card for the cover, just to give it a little bit of structure. And I am doing it doesn't matter, just make it sort of thing. And so I'm not doing any proper measuring, and I'm just going to use my sewing machine to sew it together. So I'm picked out 9 pieces of paper to make the signatures, and I've just folded them and nestled them in groups of 3. And now I've found the center of this cover, and I've marked I mark either side, just eyeballing it, probably about 1 centimeter, maybe a little bit less either side, and now I'm folding those seams in. And this is going to give me the spine and the 2 covers. I'm using my bone folder just to help me make sure it's a nice folded seam, but you can use anything to help you with that. I'm grabbing my first signature, just aligning it nicely, and now I am putting bulldog clips on it just to keep it held, because I am not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to line everything up, hold it all together, and then I'm going to whip out the sewing machine. So I am a sewer, so I have a sewing machine. I use a sewing machine a lot, but I also love to use it for paper. I do have a separate needle that I use for paper because paper does blunt it much faster. And I just put it on a really long stitch and do locking stitch either side. I never sew all the way to the ends, but I'm also, especially with this project, I'm not being precious about being the same distance from the ends either, because this is it doesn't matter, don't worry about it, just make art project. And I will do that on the front and the back signatures, and then I will just eyeball the center signature just so that it is in between those 2. And I so far I'm feeling okay about this. I'm the sort of person who can get really stuck with bad feelings, and I have to think of something and dash in and start. So you can see that these papers have been pre-prepared. I had some leftover paint when I was working on something previously, and I've just slapped it on there just so that they don't look pristine. They're already a bit messy, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what I do. I don't have to love this. The main purpose behind it is to help me do something. So I have sewn all those pages together. Some of them are sticking proud, so I'm just going to whip out the scissors and just chunk them off. I want it all to be relatively held within the cover, but it's not tidy and it's not perfect, and I'm not worrying about that. So I'm just going to trim it all up, and this is going to be a mainly wet media journal, which means that I am going to be painting in it. So I've grabbed out some extra things that I need, and I am going to go through the process of loving this and hating it all the way through. Like, hated that. Not hating this quite as much, but I feel like it's okay to not get too attached to things. I think sometimes as well, when I work on something that I love, it can be worse sometimes than making something that you hate, because then you feel like you have to stop working on it, or everything else has to be something you love as well. So I'm not really knowing what I want to do with this. I'm just using the paint to add in a bit of collage. I've got a few of the papers which I had left over from a previous project, which have been cut out. Just not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I'm just doing something, just starting and continuing and getting some things done. I decided that what I needed next is to dry it off. So I grabbed the hairdryer. I'm too impatient. I don't want to wait and come back to this. I want to just keep going. So I grabbed out the hairdryer, and I haven't dried it perfectly, but I've dried it enough that I can keep working without disturbing this layer of white too much. And I'm quite liking the texture on the back page. I feel like that's quite nice, but the front page is a whole lot of nothing. So I'm adding some color in with this now, just pulling out some colors. My palette is a plastic ice cream tub lid. And when I work with acrylic, I often use something which I'm going to recycle anyway. And when you're using this sort of lid, you can just peel the acrylic off after when you're done. So I'm just placing color, and this experience, I actually slowed down quite a bit when I started putting the color on and just thinking and putting color where it felt nice. I've basically just picked my favorite colors. I'm not doing anything very visual with this, just trying to get different texture and placing color in where it seems pleasing to me. After I put a bunch of color down, I was trying to think about how I would resolve it and make it feel finished to me, and it occurred to me that one of my favorite motifs are flowers, and I could just put some simple flowers on it, and then that would make it interesting enough for me to declare it finished. So I am not working from a reference. This isn't any flower in particular. I'm just building up some very simple flower shapes and doing it quite simply without too much fussiness, just so that I'm keeping the brush strokes in as well, which I think makes it for a very textural and fun thing. As I mentioned at the start, I'm wanting, this is sort of like a kickstart project where it's just helping me start doing some more wet media type journaling, some art journaling, which I haven't done for a long time. So I have purposely not put too many pages in it. I don't have any great ambitions or designs for how this is going to turn out, because I just want to play and have fun and not have too many restrictions or rules. So really, I can chuck this in the bin when I'm finished if I want to. I am drying it off a little bit, not perfectly, but just a little bit, just so I can add some detail on the top of these, just to help them feel a little bit less flat. Just getting the shine off of them a little bit. And I find that when I am working like this, I like to add a little bit of texture and detail on top of things like this, just because it makes it feel a little bit more interesting. And I think that it works quite well with this. And I decided that that was the treatment that the whole of the rest of the cover needed to feel finished. And so I'm just going to add in a little bit more texture and just doing that with the splodges that I'm working with, that I've done on the flowers, but a little bit larger. So just anywhere, either where I thought it would show up nicely because of the contrast of what was behind, or anywhere that felt a little boring or lacking and it needed a little bit more texture. I'm making sure that I'm painting across the spine here as well, just because I don't want the spine to be left out. I want everyone to be included in this, and I think it feels done. It feels done enough, at least. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope that you can join me again next week. Bye.